And we're joined by Popcru spokesperson Richard Mamabolo. Richard, great to have you with us on the program to shed some light on, how far we've come insofar as police officers losing their lives. One is, of course, too many. The 33 in the last financial year is devastating.
We haven't come too far with regards to police killings. I think on a yearly basis we get similar statistics. And of course, there has not been any plan to deal with police killings. Remember that Popcru started calling for policing in Dara, which would have obviously looked into how all stakeholders can play a role in ensuring that we deal with police killings. So I think from our side, the president was misbriefed. He struck all the right chords and, of course, mentioned all the right things. But however, all that he has been raising is, I think that the ministry has failed to implement. I mean, all the challenges that lead to police killings are known by the ministry, and they simply do not have a plan, really.
So Richard, what was the plan? You talk about the plan not being implemented. What was meant to be some of the steps taken?
There is no plan. That's the problem. There is no plan because it cannot be that us as a union decide on matters of policing alone. That is why we wanted this to be coordinated, especially by the SAPS, so that all stakeholders play a role. We need voices of unions, we need voices of communities specifically, because that's where crime takes place, and that's why if there are good and improved relations, it then becomes easier for police to actually root out these criminal activities within our community.
So Richard, just over the weekend, in fact, just on Saturday, a 43-year-old police officer killed in Engcobo in the Eastern Cape. There was a robbery incident in Mpumalanga as well. 2 police officers were held up there. I mean, it sort of goes against logic that the police are this exposed. The people who are meant to sort of keep the country safe and implement our laws are this exposed. In terms of the robbery at the police station, what are some of the gaps that you reckon would have existed for that to have taken place, for that to be possible?
There are many underlying challenges that police officers, especially at police station level, do face. And in most cases, it's in relation to the fact that there are staff shortages. These attacks on police stations are quite common, and they happen on a regular basis, especially in the Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga, and Limpopo. This is due to the fact that either there's information leaked about the firearms that are there, but as well, even if there's that, you find that at any given time you've got a lesser staff complement working on a shift. Sometimes you've got just under 5 police officers working on a night shift, and they have to service a community of around 30,000 people with 1 vehicle available. So those are common challenges that you find within police stations within townships and rural areas. But in affluent areas, you find that the police stations are protected. They've got all the necessary resources. So there's an uneven allocation of resources amongst within our police stations. Part of the problem of resolving this, of course, is that, there have been budget cuts announced by the Treasury, especially with regards to the SAPS, wherein they cut 11.5 billion rand for this year, and then they are going to be cutting 13.8 billion in the next year. So that then decapacitates the SAPS from actually ensuring that they work on ensuring that they capacitate themselves in dealing with crime. So you've got, for example, an intake of around 10,000 police officers who will be released from training in December. But again, as much as it's something that is welcome, they will be deployed to dilapidated areas where there are no resources, and they are put into more danger because under the circumstances that our stations find themselves in, the likelihood is that they are going to be killed. So part of what happened yesterday with the commemoration is something that we welcome, but again, we feel that it's meaningless to the families if it's just a ceremonial event. You would know. Sorry?
I'm agreeing with you, Richard. I want to ask you what the next steps should look like insofar as police killings are concerned. But it's not that simple, is it? Given what you've just outlined about staff shortages and budget restraints. But at least on paper, what do you reckon, where do you reckon the solution lies here to keep our police officers safe?
We need to get communities involved. There's nothing that can be done about crime without community involvement. I think this idea of having an indaba, or in whatever form you might call it, will actually assist, because there is an urgent need to rally communities. Police cannot do much without the support of communities. So I know that there have been bad relations with police and communities, and of course there's a perception which is reinforced by the fact that police sometimes are undercapacitated to respond to community challenges. So we need to explain to communities, but as well as ensure that they understand that they need to play a bigger role. So it's a long-term, it's a long-term plan, of course, but we need to start now.
Yeah, absolutely. Start now and stop the kind of police killings we've seen. 33 officers losing their lives in just the last financial year. Richard Mamabolo from Popcru, let me thank you for your time this morning.